All right, let's go ahead and begin. So to start off, I created kind of some to-dos, and I created a project in the Code Ponder repo that I'm going to kind of follow today. So the plan for today is we're going to start by taking the UI package that I created, and we set it up with Storybook and styled components, and we want to make it so we can export those components and use them in other packages. Then after that, we are going to remove some old code, basically from the Code Ponder from the 24-hour startup. We're going to remove that from the web package so to make it generic. Then we're going to make sure everything works in this Yarn workspace. And then lastly, we're going to create a GitHub repo to put basically this boilerplate for that we set up for Code Ponder. And then lastly, which I don't know if we're going to get to today, I might just do till next stream, is we're going to set up GitHub OAuth with Passport, and that's how users are going to log into the site. So let's begin with the first task. So pretty much I am going to use, here's my button, and we're just taking the text and making it blue. And so I said in here that I wanted to set it up like this. So at codeponder/UI/button and whatnot. I don't think I'm going to worry about setting that up because it's a little bit more complex to set up, or at least would take more work than we already have. So I'm just going to ignore that for now. And if someone wants to PR it, that's cool. But for now, we're just going to export like so. Is that a paid GitHub feature? No, you can set up a repository and add projects to it for free. And you can set up like this Kanban board is what I have set up. It's just a basic one. And then you can also set up a more advanced one as well that like triggers with a pull request and whatnot, which I haven't set up yet, but there's some templates that you can use. All right, so we are exporting the button here. So here's the folder structure that we have. We have source and then this index.tsx file. And then we have our components here. So this is where I'm going to put each component that we create. And so here's our button. We're going to create a story for it. And then here's going to be the actual code of what it looks like. And then for our story, we're going to say stories.button. And we don't need two of them. And then here there are us using the button in different ways. So for each one of these that we create, so we have button, let's say we create a header. So we're going to say export const header. And we'll just make this one red. So I'm going to actually fill out this with real components later. And so for each one of these, I'm just going to export them like so. And so this is how I expose it to other packages. So what I need to do now is in my package.json, I'm going to set up a build, and I'm not going to do the React scripts. In fact, we don't really need any React script stuff, so I'm going to just get rid of all that. And I'm just going to use the TypeScript compiler here. And basically, when we compile this, which let's just compile it real quick. Let's set up tmux. I think we call it build. I'm gonna rename it to dist. I just like that name better. Yeah, I tried out the VS Code extension for styled components, so you can get like syntax highlighting right for like right here. For whatever reason, I don't mind it just being all one color. I may add it later. I forget why I removed it. I was like fine with it, no syntax highlighting for some reason with my CSS, but I may add it back later. So inside of here we have the index.d.ts file, and we have the index.js. So the JS one is our root. So in our package.json here, we have to point to it. So we say main, and then we're going to say ./dist/index.js. And then we can also say types, and then we point to our index.d.ts. And this is how, when we import this package, or when we're going to use it in, like, for example, the web over here, that's how it knows which to use. So it's going to grab the index for the code, and it's grab index.ts for the types. All right, so we have that. Let's go ahead and we built this. We can now use this package in other packages. So that's what I want to try out next, which I guess is, we're pretty much done with it. It's now we can import this from other places. I said I was going to remove the old code from the web package next, but I kind of want to make sure we can share it first and fix any problems we have if not. So to do this, why don't I try importing it in our website. So I'm going to just have our home page import this button. And then in here, we're going to get rid of a lot of these packages, but we're also going to include the code ponder /UI. And how do we know what name to put here? It's going to match what we specify in the package.json. So we said UI here. I'm going to change it to, nope. That way it matches. And in my UI, the TS config, I need to also say that this is composite. And in the TS config over here, I'm going to reference the UI. And I think that's all the steps that I need to do. And I think I just need to say yarn here, and we'll see if that works. So we typed yarn. I feel like I messed one part up. All right, we'll look at this in a second. What happened if you don't specify the types? I think TypeScript looks for the index.d.ts by default. Okay, it does. That's good then. Does it look for index.d.ts, or does it grab like any .d.ts files? I guess it never hurts to specify it twice anyway. Okay, so what happened when we typed yarn here is it looked for code ponder /UI in the npm registry instead of knowing it should be right over there. So how does it know? Maybe let's look at my TS config here. References server common. Do we just need to include the UI there? Nope. So this is fun. Now we get to debug our yarn workspace. So our common directory works, so we can kind of follow a similar pattern with what we did there. So we have all the packages. Under package is where we say all our yarn workspace packages are. We have a TS config here. I don't think this is TypeScript related. And the reason for that is because it couldn't install it from npm. We'll get TypeScript problems later on, I believe. All right, let's see what our common looks like. So I didn't do / in front of, and I call it typings. I want to say it's supposed to be types, but I can't remember. First thing I'm going to try though is getting rid of the dot slash, but I don't think that's what's causing the problem. See how we specified it here? We said version 1. All right, I think that's our problem. So we had the wrong version in our package.json here. So I think the version here needs to match what we specified over there. See if that's what was causing it. Yep, that looks like the first problem. All right, so let's see if it's typings or types. Yep, so it's types. So I think you're right. I think it picked up the index.d.ts by default because I had the incorrect thing in there. All right, so it finished installing all the packages. So even though I ran yarn in the UI folder, because it's a yarn workspace, it installs it everywhere, I believe. So I think we're good to just do yarn start here. And I always forget that this is a Next project and they have it on yarn dev, so I need to do that. And the thing I care about is /home. So now what I can do is import this. Now I'm interested to see if we're going to get auto completion, and we don't. Do we get auto completion here? Yes. All right, give that a save. So I removed the layout from here, so I'm thinking we shouldn't get this error again. Nice. All right. So interestingly enough, we see hello from the UI package, but the style did not work. So there's 2 classes on it, which is interesting. I'll tell you why it's not working. It's because we haven't set up styled components with Next.js yet. So it added the classes, but it didn't add the CSS for it. So that's actually something we can do next. I think we can pretty much say that we're able to import this properly and that it works. So I'm going to go ahead and say that's done. So what I want to do next is kind of remove everything out of the web package. And then while we're at it, let's get styled components working. I'll just keep like a dummy text there. So here we are using the Apollo provider, which I'm totally cool with keeping that in. We're not going to use semantic UI anymore. Our server, I believe, is running on localhost 4000/GraphQL. That's fine. I think we can keep all this stuff here for the Apollo stuff. I already emptied my GraphQL folder. For my components, I'm going to get rid of my formic field, get rid of the Apollo components, the review card, the error message, all that semantic stuff that I don't want. I think I'm going to keep the layout. So let's down to there. And I'm not going to make the title default anymore, because I want a custom title on every page pretty much. And we can still keep this layout component. It's still useful, and you're pretty much going to want something like this for every single one. So we'll keep this. And then utils I can kill. Actually, I'm going to keep this utils because I feel like for every project that I use, I'm probably going to have to normalize the errors. This is fine. CodeGen, this is fine because we're going to be using Apollo probably. Well, we're definitely going to use Apollo, so. All right, so things I can remove from the package.json. Is I don't want semantic UI anymore. And I think I can keep the rest. I'm fine keeping formic in there because that's what I'm going to use from all my forms anyway. Is semantic UI good? I used it the last time when I basically set up this project at first, and I didn't really care for it too much. At least, like the components it has are pretty nice, but I felt like there's some stuff that was missing, and also I didn't really care for how they did their input elements. Like I wish I could do like errors for individual fields, which it didn't let me. I had to do like a global error message. Overall, I felt like semantic was just okay. I didn't feel like it was anything special. All right, we don't need Apollo anymore since we're going to be using code generator. I'm not sure why I have Lerna right here. So I have some stuff that should be in dev dependencies. I think those three and URL loader. I don't think I can just move it over like this and it works like that. I just want to make sure I didn't break anything. And then we're going to set up style components. Nice. I'm just like waiting for the TypeScript errors to show up, but maybe we don't have any. Just restart it now. Now, interestingly enough, I haven't actually installed styled components. So let's do that. And then we should get some styling there, I believe. Hey Mern, how you doing? All right, so we have the package. Cool. So the styling showed up. So it looks like the Next.js stuff for style components works. Is there anything else that I want in my Next.js setup right now? So my config I have with CSS and TypeScript. I think that's fine start. Let's see. tsconfig we have set up. We have a custom server. Now the server I actually wrote using JavaScript. So let's convert that to TypeScript real quick and see if that works. I love this examples repo that Next.js has. It pretty much shows you how to use any package with it. And I was able to get Next routes working using pretty much their stuff. I'm doing pretty good. Stuff is going pretty well today. We haven't run into too many major bugs, which is nice. And then I just ignore it because I believe it does work, but it's picky about it. And then the other thing is in my, I was gonna say my tsconfig for my server, which we do not have set up. Oh, that's right. So here's how we can set up the tsconfig for our server. Because we want a different one than the tsconfig that Next.js uses. And basically we just copy the tsconfig that's over there, and then we change the module, and then we need a specific outer. Should we? Nah, I mean, we'll see if it has a problem with it. And then I'm just going to turn synthetic default to false, because I feel like this really messes stuff up sometimes. Let's finish setting this up. We set up a no daemon. All right, yep. Watching this, which is not really what I wanted to watch. I want you to watch server.ts and to watch routes.ts. You know what? Changed my mind. Let's just encapsulate it inside of that. And do they call it index? Yeah. Quick question, when you have a menu in Next and you follow a route, does the whole page re-render, or can you select what component re-renders? Oh, like if you go to a different route and then you come back, Yeah, I think whenever you change a page or change a route and you're rendering new components, I believe they get re-rendered. And I don't know like the technique for them to like not get re-rendered. Basically what you do though is you store the state globally, and then you keep the state so it re-renders but it looks the same. And the state doesn't need to be global per se, but it just needs to be high enough that that state doesn't go away. Okay, so we have this here. We have our node daemon.json, which we have set up there. We have TS node. We have our server.json. And the last part here is we need to import the routes that we get from that. Which I forget which the syntax is for that actually. Whoops. By the way, if you guys were wondering what that was, this is a extension I have for Chrome that has like Vim with it. So what I can do is instead of using my mouse to scroll around, I can use my keyboard, and then I push F, and it had, these are all links on the screen, and then whichever link that I want to click, I just type the letters. So for example, I want to click this link here, so I type C, and then here are the remaining ones I can click, and I type E, and then go in. Let's go to, no, we don't want routes, we want server. Yeah, it is pretty cool. And now that I got used to using Vim just for coding, I like not having to, yeah, we don't need this container. Should this just be a body tag? Just have it as a div. But yeah, I pretty much like using my keyboard now more than my mouse, so I like carrying that over to when I'm just browsing web pages. Coding in Vim, what madness is this? Are you not a part of this madness? Document, app, it's good. Let's start this up. What about fragments? I actually thought about setting up a fragment right there, and I may end up doing it, but I'll just, did I do npm start again? No, I did dev. Could not find valid build. No, we don't want to build it. So let's see where we mess this up. React to this, please. What is it? We didn't change anything based on that. We have the same thing there. We have the same thing there. By the way, am I using Express for this? Forget. Yeah. Let's remove that. I don't feel like I need Express. I don't think that was remotely near what the problem was, but I just want to real quick clear that out. Oh, interesting. I didn't even have it installed. I had it installed from another package probably. What are you using Next Express for? I was just using Express basically for the server, but I don't really need it. I can just use HP. I'll check out the YouTube video at the end when I'm done with this. Oops. I wanted to just get rid of these AB routes because we're not going to need them. But I got rid of too much. There we go. And I think the problem was I didn't rename this to index.js. All right, let's give this a try. Cool. All right, no errors. So now we have a custom server set up, which is going to be nice. And the only reason why we set up a custom server is so we can use Next routes, which we don't have any right now, but when we want to, we can start adding. I don't know if the syntax was add, but we're going to have, for example, code review, and we're going to have an ID which we want to capture. And so Next routes just simplifies the UI for that. So I think we're done with the generic setup for the web. When we're importing the UI, we import common. I think I finished with the server. Is there anything up here that I want to change? I don't think so. I think I'm just going to call this good. So clean up web package. Hey, what's up, man? All right, so we finished doing that. So the next thing up is create a GitHub repo for it. And let's keep this up. We can come back to it. All right, so what description do we want to use? I guess we set up a yarn workspace with Next.js. Not Postgres. We don't really care that it uses Postgres as much. I mean, we care, but it's more that we're using typeworm. We also set it up with type GraphQL, which was actually kind of a weird choice. That might get stripped out later if I decide to not go with type GraphQL for future projects, but we're in it for now. Let's do it like this. Next.js, storybook, typeworm, type GraphQL. I don't think we used anything else. Yep, I think that's good enough for now. Let's make it public. All right. So now this repository is currently set up. It's connected to the code ponder repository. And now I want to push it up to this repository, this monorepo one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it as a remote. I'm just going to call it MR. I'm going to say git push MR master. Did I join as you're finishing? Yeah, I just started half an hour ago, but I just finished up with the setting up basically the boilerplate for my monorepo. And here it is. We can replace that now. Well, I guess we like the README there, so we can just change the README here. I don't know. I should probably fill this out later with a better. All right. So basically how I imagine using this is just cloning this when I want to do future projects. Actually, there's one other thing that I want to set up real quick. So we finished that. And that is, I want to make sure that my packages don't go out of date. So renovate. So we're going to set up. I've actually never set this up on a repo before. I've been meaning to with so many projects because I want this to be handle my packages, but basically what it goes in and it updates stuff. So I think we can get this set up also for the monorepo where it goes into all the individual packages and does that as well. That's hopefully the goal. All right. Save time, reduce risk. Let's get started. And so like you have to pay for stuff unless it is an open source project, I believe. Let's just confirm. All right, yep. We're gonna do the open source one. All right. And just so it doesn't show any, I don't know if it's gonna about to show any API keys or things, so I'm just going to like blink my screen real quick to make sure I don't just like show anything. I need to have a better screen for that. Complete order and begin installation. All repositories install on your personal account. Okay, we only want a single repository right now, so we're gonna set it to the monorepo. Install. All right. Can we see your desk setup? Yes. I'll show you my desk setup at the very end. Let's set up the renovate bout. So basically I just clicked install and that's it. So I now have it added here. Do I have something here? Okay. So it added a pull request. What file did it change? All right, so we have a renovate.json. Cool, it detected all our packages. I mean, I don't think I need to read all this. I think we're good. That was a lot easier than I thought it would be. I mean, we'll see as new packages come out and see if it's actually works. I'm learning GraphQL because of you. That's fantastic. GraphQL is a great choice right now. How do you find learning it? Do you feel like it's hard to pick up, or it's pretty easy? So I guess we should get started on that since we're only like half an hour in. Do we need this anymore? No. I like to tidy up my tabs as I go along. Let's see, did I get an error notification from it? Oh, it looks like renovate works. What did this do? Oh, it gets rid of these. Yep, that's fine with me. I don't want to review anything. I just want to merge you. Thank you. I actually think it's pretty easy, but I still don't understand how it ties into a backend completely. Confirm. Basically, it's going to be the layer of how other things communicate with it. And once you set up your schema, you set up resolvers in your backend, and we're going to set up probably Apollo server with it. So Apollo server you're going to plug in, and you put your logic in the resolvers. And basically the Apollo server is going to take requests, and that is your backend. And then it's going to go to the resolvers, and then you put your logic in there. Fragments are, we'll take a look at fragments in 1 second. Update dependencies. Okay, let's merge it. Why did it have a merge conflict? Oh, because it did this. Oh, that's annoying. How do I complete? Mark is resolved. Learning GraphQL is okay. I don't think that my limited knowledge of Node and databases makes it not so easy. I can get it to work, but some other stuff confuses you. Yeah, it can be a little weird also at first, getting used to like how it works with all those things. But keep at it. It does get a lot easier, and it gets really nice when you get used to it. But let's talk about fragments real quick, because they're actually not too complex, but they're a little weird, and I feel like a lot of people don't use them when they're really handy actually. So here's what a fragment looks like. So basically you have your GraphQL type here. So this is the GraphQL type is person, and then this is a custom name you give. They call it name parts, and then you pick the fields that you want. First name, last name. And then you can use fragments for queries and mutations and subscriptions, and it looks like this. You say ... name parts. And basically what happens is, now when I select this person, it's also going to select the first name and the last name field along with the avatar. So you can think about this as the spread operator in like objects in JavaScript, very similar to that. And so it's going to put those there. And the reason why they're useful is I can use fragments in multiple queries. So let's say my get person uses name parts, but also my create person uses it. And then, my delete person also uses the fragment. So that way we fetch the same fields back. And then let's say we no longer have a last name. We now, in a first name and a last name, we just rename it to full name. Then we can change this. We can type full name here. And then we don't actually need to update all the different queries that use this fragment. So it's just a nice way to be able to make sure all your queries, mutations, and subscriptions are using the same fields, and how you can update them all at once if a type changes. So I like to use them in pretty much whenever I'm sharing fields across queries or mutations. And then subscriptions as well, but I don't use them as much. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We actually don't need to go back to there. We're going to passport. Yeah, no problem, Bert. Here's a general question. When you're building an app, do you implement API rate limiting yourself? Is it handled by Node, or is it handled by something like DigitalOcean? I actually don't know if DigitalOcean has some sort of rate limit. I think at some point it does rate limit for you, but I think it's very, very, very high. Let's see if it does. And I think it may just be a rate limit on their API and not on the requests it can get. Yeah, this looks like their API. I don't see anything about it. I mean, I think you're just limited by maybe the bandwidth, but usually I don't count on DigitalOcean doing that for me or rate limiting stuff. I end up actually just writing the logic for that myself. Well, not really. So I mean, what I mean by that is, so usually I'm using Express, and so I'll just search rate limit and then what you're using, and there's usually a package you can use. Hello Techno. So this is the one I've used before, Express rate limit. And so I hooked this up to Redis. Let's check it out over here. And then yeah, you just specify like how you want stuff to be rate limited, and then it does it for you. So for example here, they're setting the window to 15 minutes and they're saying a max of 100 requests. So my guess is within a 15-minute window, you can do no more than 100 requests. If you get past that, it's going to stop doing that. So if you want to set rate limiting, this is what I usually do, as I just set this package up. So that's nice. And so yeah, usually to answer your question, you set it up yourself. That fragment part could be a nice 2-minute YouTube video. Yeah, what I'm planning on doing is after this is done, Twitch has like a nice little section that you can highlight videos, and so I'm just going to chop it up and I'll put that on YouTube. Passport GitHub. Okay, so this is where we need to set up and register our application with GitHub. Okay, so configure the strategy. Oh, that's pretty much it. Okay. So basically we just need to create a OAuth account and grab the 2 secrets and then authenticate requests. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this for tomorrow's stream and set it up there. And for now, I have 2 things that I need to do. I'm going to look at the YouTube video that one guy posted, and then I'll show you guys my desk setup, and then we'll take this on tomorrow. So let's go check out my chat. Let's turn off my volume, and let's just pop it out so we don't get inception. Oh, it does not let me scroll up. All right, let's see what it would say over here. In that context, is rate limiting global like incoming requests, or is it that per session / user / API key? So you get to choose. So if we come back over here, you get to pick your key. At least I think they call it a key. Yep, they call it key generator. So basically what it does by default is it uses the person's IP. So a single IP can use no more than 100 requests per 15 minutes. But you could set this up to, for example, instead of using IP, if the user is logged in, you can use like their ID. But if users are not logged in, IP is usually a pretty good choice. So yeah, per user is definitely how you'd want to set it up. And so you either use the user ID if they're logged in or the IP if they're not usually. Okay, so I have over here, let's see what the YouTube video is. A lightning struck a bit too close. Okay, that was a lot lamer than I thought it was going to be. Okay, so I'll show you guys my desk setup real quick. See, there we go. There we go. So here's my iMac. There's my laptop that I'm using to look at chat. Here's my microphone setup. That's a ping pong table and my water bottle. And then here's my table. And then there's my mouse, and then this is a mouse pad of one of my fish. And here's my keyboard. I use a DAS keyboard, and it's a mechanical keyboard with brown keys. And that's pretty much my whole setup right here. And so usually, I only have one screen right now, but I really need to set up a second one. And so that's why this guy is over here. But yeah, that's my setup, and right now it's super clean. I actually just removed like some stuff. Like I used to have papers all around it, but I actually removed it so I could put my laptop there. But yeah, that's the setup, guys, and I think I'm gonna end the stream here today. Thanks for coming, and we'll pick off where we left off today tomorrow.